Welcome to Resilient Minds 365, where we discuss the resilient stories of entrepreneurs, professionals, and students with mental illnesses to encourage you to strive, thrive, and live in abundance. I'm your host, Cleone Crawford. Welcome back to another episode of Resilient Minds 365, where we discuss the resilient stories of entrepreneurs, professionals, and students with mental illnesses to encourage you to strive, thrive, and live in abundance. I'm your host, Cleone Crawford. Well, guys, we have a special episode with us today. We have a special guest with us today. Our special guest is Jamie Hughes. Who is Jamie Hughes? Well, he is a dedicated social psychologist, author, and life coach whose work is rooted in a profound personal journey of overcoming trauma, abuse, and depression. With a specialized focus on trauma, resilience, and self-care, Jamie brings a practical and holistic approach to mental health. His compassionate and empowering methodology reflects both his academic expertise and lived experience, making his work deeply relatable and impactful. Through writing, coaching, and speaking, Jamie is committed to helping others transform pain into power and reclaim their well-being. So with that said, I now present to you Jamie Hughes. So,
Thank you very
Jamie,
much.
thank you. So, how you doing today, Jamie?
Doing great, doing great.
So, where are you calling in from?
So at the moment, I am in Medellin, Colombia.
Ooh, Colombia. How's the weather down there?
Oh, it's perfect. It's the same year round. That's one of the
Oh,
reasons I'm here.
that's amazing. That's amazing. Love it. Love it.
Yes,
All right. So tell us a little bit more about your profession, what you do, how'd you get started? Just talk us, just walk us through it.
sure. So as a social psychologist, I am very passionate about studying and understanding and teaching not just individual psychology, but the social applications of that, how what we think, feel, and experience, how that affects the world around us, our relationships, our communities, and vice versa, how those things impact us. Um, and as an author, I published 4 books so far, each on a different mental illness, anxiety, ADHD, PTSD, and clinical depression. And I really wanted to put something out there that would help people, first of all, have a better understanding of what they're dealing with, because the more you know, the better you can learn to handle it, the better you can make life adjustments and things like that. And also something that was extremely practical. So if you're dealing with ADHD and you pick out my book and you start going through it, you're the by chapter 2 or 3, you're hitting the practical stuff that says, do this, and here's how you do it, and here's the effect that you're looking for. So I really wanted to give people something that they could do now to help with symptoms, help manage symptoms,
Mhm.
and build long-term, you know, healing. And so that's the most of my work in terms of that. And when in coaching, I kind of do the same thing. I work with people and help them figure out what it is they really want and need in life, whether it be relationships, whether it be personal growth, whether it be professional growth, and then chart a path for that, a clear path for that, including their barriers, and how to get over those barriers. And then I give them support and accountability to put those things into practice and move forward.
Cool. Well, sounds exciting. Sounds very exciting. I love it. Love it.
Yep, yep.
So, with that said, we are now going to move. Now that I know what you do for a living,
Hmm.
we are now going to actually, can you tell us a little bit more about, before I move to the next topic, the
Hmm.
question, can you tell us about your books? Where can they be found? What are their titles?
Okay. Yeah, if you just go to my website, managingmentalhealth.net, all four books are listed there. Um, and they're all start with managing. So managing everyday PTSD, managing everyday anxiety, managing clinical depression, and managing adult ADHD. And those are the four.
Mm.
And I also just released a managing mental health journal, and it's also available at same place at the website. And it has um, 50 prompts that you can work through, you know, daily basis or weekly basis, however often you want to do it. And they're specifically designed to help people dive in and get better self introspection and self focus on issues. And so yeah, that's on there as well.
Cool. Perfect. All right. So now that we know about what you do and where we can find your books and stuff like that, I would like to ask my next question. What is your mental health diagnosis and when were you diagnosed?
Great question. So it's funny, it sounds funny for some people to hear a psychologist, a professional actually having a mental health diagnosis. And
Hmm.
but I think it's more common than not that uh, people go into the field of psychology to kind of figure themselves out. And most people in a helping field of whatever that is that have great compassion and want to help others are probably there because they've been through something themselves and they know what it feels like, which is definitely my case. I grew up since the age of 9 with depression and wasn't even diagnosed officially until my early to mid 20s. And that's when I actually started my intentional journey of healing. And then later in life, after many years of growth and healing and dealing with that, I started noticing other traits that didn't make sense given the amount of healing and growth I'd had. And so I ended up uh, being diagnosed with ADHD, which actually was very helpful because it made it, there a lot of things made sense after that.
Hmm.
And that was probably, oh, it was probably about 5 or 6 years ago now.
Okay, perfect. And so tell us about your mental health story of resilience. What did you have to go through? What did you have to overcome? Just break it down for us.
Yeah. So mine started with a lot of childhood trauma. My parents got divorced when I was still a baby. I never even knew I had a dad. Never saw a picture, never heard a name, nothing, up until almost the age of 9. And the only reason I had a change then was because my mother died from a liver disease when I was 8 years old. So when she passed away, the family courts decided to put me with my dad because he was, it was my paternal father, my natural father. And so within a month of losing my mom, I was thrust into a new city, a new home, a new school, a new family. And so it was just, devastating. And I didn't even get the chance to grieve, as a child. It was actually punished for me uh, having times and thoughts of grieving. And I grew up with, you know, a lot of abuse from my father from that point. A lot of psychological, emotional abuse, constantly being told and made to feel that I was unwanted and worthless. And it never stopped. So it was once my trauma started, it didn't stop. It didn't slow down for many, many, many years. And my actual first, my introduction, I guess, to the mental health field at all was when I was 18 and I had a suicide attempt. And that was the very first time I'd ever spoken with a professional therapist or psychologist or doctor or anybody about it. And they recognized, they were like, yeah, this wasn't just, a one-time thing that, you're suffering from depression. You've got, clinical depression. Um, and even at that point, I was just not ready. I was not in the right place to continue treatment. And I didn't have the support, I didn't have any family members that encouraged me or supported me to go to therapy or to be on medication or anything. So it was several years later, like in my mid 20s, where like I said earlier, that I started intentionally going down the healing path. And mainly, most of it was because I wanted to study psychology. And so I wanted to learn more, understand myself more. And so started therapy and began that process. Um, so many barriers to overcome. And when you're dealing something with uh, as serious as a mental illness, whether it's uh, anxiety, depression, PTSD, these types of things, you know, you 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 kind of have to overcome the external and internal barriers all at the same time, and it's hard. It's really hard. Um, it's one of the reasons some people are, you know, kind of don't go into the journey of healing and don't get what they need is because it's difficult. It's not
Mhm.
as easy as just taking a pill or you going talking to someone for an hour and then you're good. It's not. You've got to do a lot of self work if you're going to reach a point of true healing. But it's worth it and it's
Mhm.
possible. Um, some barriers, of course, the with depression and things, there's always this internal voice, that's telling you, that you're unworthy and that things are never going to get better and, you know, life is just devastating. And so there's always that internal voice. That's a huge barrier to overcome. And it takes time. It takes time, but you eventually can do that. Um, and then even just knowing what I needed for help was a barrier because if you've never been to therapy, if you've never been through the process, you don't know what to expect, you know, and you don't know what to do in addition to that.
Mhm.
So those were some of the main barriers, I think.
Okay, cool. So, what did you have to do to overcome or bounce back from your low points? List all the resources that were applicable.
Oh yeah, so from the low points, definitely with getting medical help. You know, medication is a very important piece of the puzzle. And I always like to tell people that it is exactly like that, thinking of it as a puzzle. And you have some pieces that are necessary to your healing, and that could be medicine, it could be therapy, but those aren't the only pieces. And if that's all you're doing, that's a good start, but there's so much more out there in terms of growth and healing and even helping other people. Um, so definitely getting on medication and starting therapy, that was the first step in that process. And me going into to studying psychology for me was a huge benefit because I was just so interested in it. I learned so much about the mind, the body, trauma, the physical aspects of mental illness. Um, one of the greatest things that I've ever come across that's helped me tremendously over the years is the understanding that physical health is mental health. They're
Yes.
not separate, you know. Um, and unless you learn about these things, you just don't know. You don't know that when you experience an extreme trauma like child abuse or the death of a parent or even like, extreme violence, um, that your body actually, it screws your body up. It messes up your digestive system. It messes up your immunity system. So you have all these, weird things going on with your body, these, aches, pains, sicknesses. And a lot of people don't put two and two together and say, oh, well, it, that might be because of trauma, you know?
Mhm.
And if you go to a doctor and say, hey, yeah, look, I've got this, you know, chronic lower back pain and it's just all the time, it's hurting me. Okay, well, it's probably your posture. It's probably the way you're sitting at work. Here, take these muscle relaxers and do some exercises and you'll be good. Well, they may not know the main cause of it could be trauma. So for me, just the more I learned, the more I became a student of myself, the the better it helped me, the more effective it was.
Okay, amazing, amazing. So, what are three things you wish you had available when you were at your lowest point?
Um, so the three things that looking back and the things I've experienced that I wish I had at the time was one was professional help, and again, it's available to a lot of people, but especially as like a teenager or a young adult, if you don't have the support and the encouragement, even if you know about it, you may just not be in a position to take advantage of it. But I would just encourage people, look, even if you don't have anyone that's supporting you and that's going with you or talking with you about these things, just try it. Just try it. Just take one step, you know, talk to your doctor, find therapy, find counseling, something. If it's free, take it. If you can afford it, take it. Just that one step. Another thing that's huge for me that I learned as I grew and healed was self-help tools like meditation and journaling. Those are two of the most powerful tools I've ever experienced, things that I could do that was in my control
Hmm.
and that I could literally feel a difference once I got into them as a habit. And it's like they're like any other habits, any other things that you want to learn. It takes a little time, but if you just keep practicing, you'll get to a point where it just becomes second nature. So journaling and meditation are huge. And then I would say support system. And this one's hard when you're struggling, when you feel like even talking about your issues, you feel like it's a burden to other people.
Hmm.
So it's tough, but I would just encourage people, if there's one person that you can just be intentional about cultivating that relationship with, a friend, a family member, whatever, um, work on that. Just find somebody that you can, and you have to make a little effort yourself. You have to be able to be willing to overcome that internal negative voice and just say, I'm just going to, I feel I can trust this person and I feel like they're kind to me. So I'm just going to open my mouth and let it spill. And if they're receptive, great. If not, look for another person, but you kind of have to take that step out, that leap of faith. Um, but hindsight, I wish I had done that myself. So that's why I encourage it so much, is because it is so important.
Okay, perfect. Let's see, what's our next question? So, our next question is, what words of hope can you give to our listeners? What would you tell to someone who's been in your shoes?
I would say that you have more resilience than you think you do. It doesn't feel like it. I know. I remember the days of just laying in bed crying, feeling like I couldn't even get out of bed. I remember the days of thinking, I just wish I wasn't here. You know, I remember those days, but you have more resilience than you know. Count on it. So far, if you're listening to this right now, obviously you've survived 100% of the things that have tried to take you out,
Right.
whether it be barriers, whether it be mental illness, whether it be trauma in life. You're here. You've survived 100%. So you have it in you. Just trust on it and just keep moving forward. Like I said earlier, if it's one thing you can do, pick that one thing and take that next step. You can do it.
Amazing. Amazing. All right. So now we are going to do a switch in the interview just a little bit. As you can see to the right of me, yeah, to the right of me, there are some books that say The Music of My Life. And basically, that book is a book about my journey between bipolar disorder and music therapy.
Mm.
So my question to you is, what type of music do you like?
So I'm kind of an amalgamation of music. I grew up in the 80s, so I'm a big fan of like all kinds of music. And we grew up listening to rock and rap. It was the birth of hip hop and the birth of heavy metal and all these things, were happening when we were teenagers. So it was a great time to be alive musically. And you know, there's probably people my age that you'll hear be like, "Oh, today's music is trash," because that's because we were alive during the Renaissance in a way of so much. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of both rock and rap, and so yeah, my playlist is like all over the place.
Amazing, amazing. So if you were to think of a song that best describes your journey, what would it be and why?
So two songs came to mind with that question. One, I remember when I was a teenager, there was a song that was out, and it wasn't even like something that came out in my time. It was earlier, but somehow I heard it. I don't know where, from who or what, but it was called "Ride Like the Wind" by Christopher Cross. And I remember as a teenager, I would ride my bike and I would be listening to music, and I would have this song, and I would listen to it because it was about an escape. It was about getting out of the the turmoil that this guy was in. He said, "I'm going to ride like the wind to be free again."
Mm,
And that was something that just it resonated with me, living in abuse, living with depression. I just wanted to escape. I imagined getting to a place of freedom. And so that song was very impactful for me as a teenager. And then the other one is and this is a really, really old song, but I love the lyrics of it, and by Frank Sinatra, "I Did It My Way." And
ah,
I love it because it's, he's basically kind of giving his own eulogy. And he's like, well, when I die, whether you like me or not, whether I was successful or not, I did it my way. And if there's anything you can say or remember about me, that's it, that I did it my way.
yes, I like that. I like that. Okay, so how can we stay in touch with you? What are your social media handles?
So yeah, you can look on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. They're all managing mental health. They're all on there. And then, like I said earlier, my website, managingmentalhealth.net. So there's, email section on there if you want to reach out to me. There's the coaching form if you're interested in that. And then I'm also on LinkedIn. If you want to find me there, also managing mental health or Jamie Hughes. You can look up either one on LinkedIn.
Perfect, perfect. Well, I want to thank you very much for being a guest on our show, Jamie. Your transparency and your story was definitely very informative, impactful, and it was a really good story. I really enjoyed your story. So thank you very much for sharing your story with us.
Thank you for having me.
No
Enjoyed it.
worries. No worries. And to all you resilient minds out there, until next time, please subscribe to us on all our platforms and don't forget to rate the show and leave a review for us on Apple Podcasts. Also, join the community of resilient minds and sign up for our monthly newsletter at onlycleone.com. Be sure to grab a copy of my book, The Music of My Life, on all Amazon marketplaces to get to know me better. If you can think of one person that will receive value from today's show or connect with Jamie's testimonial, please share with them. Feel free to take a screenshot of this week's episode of the podcast and tag us on Instagram. You can tag myself at Only Cleone or Resilient Minds and today's guest at Managing Mental Health on Instagram. And remember, mental health is not a death sentence. Despite your illness, you can strive, thrive, and live a life of abundance. Until next time, I'm Cleone Crawford, and I'm signing off.